Better questions equal good decisions, or possibly fewer regrets. That's what I want to talk about today because I've got the news here. It's slap full of people making the wrong decision. It's obvious to see that. These elected officials are consistently running this country in the ground. And I don't think they're asking themselves the right questions because your life is made up one decision at a time. And how you can come across the right decision is by asking yourself the right question. And the first question is, am I being honest with myself? Write it down. Write down the pros and the cons of whatever decision you're trying to make. It'll help you. It'll help you make the right decision because, you want to be able to look back on your life when you're 80, and this goes for our elected officials. I hope they see this video. I really do, because I don't think they're doing this, This come from a Bible study I did about 3 years ago. I want to read to you just some of my notes I took. This is a book. I carry it around with me. I carry it around all over the place. I got more stuff wrote down here, and most of it doesn't make sense because it's all scattered. But good questions equal good decisions. The most deceptive person is yourself. Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" As soon as you start selling yourself on something, it's probably the wrong decision. You rarely have to sell yourself on a good idea. You owe it to yourself to tell yourself the truth. Now, question number 2 was, what kind of story do I want to tell? Your story is written one decision at a time. Always consider your story. Liar is not an option. And do not add to the saddest chapter of your story. If you're going through something right now, or you've made the wrong decision because you failed to ask yourself the right questions, you can turn that around. You can swap bad for good, and then you'll have an awesome story. The people in the Bible did not have the right decision all the time. They didn't make the right decision all the time. But a lot of times they were able to flip that around into, God works like that. We're not perfect. We're going to mess up. But we have the opportunity to say, hey, I messed up. Now I know exactly what to do. So I hope when the smoke clears from the economy, from what these elected officials are doing, we'll be able to see straight and have a clear path of what to do and how to do it. And it all starts with asking yourself the right question. Now, the first story today is about gold. But before we get into it, would you mind hitting the like button, subscribing, and ringing the bell, and make sure that if you know you're already subscribed, make sure it says subscribe, because a lot of people have been getting unsubscribed 3 and 4 times. Thank you for that. There's some people that have lost millions of dollars investing in this Regal Assets. It's a company that peddles precious metals, I'm sure at a high premium. And a lot of these people put their life savings in it. Now, they didn't ask themselves a very good question. Don't put your life savings into one thing. That's a good way to lose everything you've got. These people that were planning on retiring because they had they understood inflation, they understood, why you would hold precious metals. And obviously the people that work at Regal Assets probably coerced them into, I have called these kind of companies. You see YouTubers pushing precious metal companies all the time. And I call them because they call me and they want me to promote their products. And I simply can't do it. They are gouging and being very manipulative on how they sell. And if you've ever called one and you ask them how much is a price of a box of monster box of Eagles, just a simple question, they can't come back with a simple answer. It's some kind of convoluted, well, how much do you have to spend? Or we don't sell precious metals like that. Or, they really want to push you into something else other than just owning precious metals. So watch out for that. That's a red flag. But the CEO, his name is Tyler Gallagher. He lived a lavish lifestyle in Beverly Hills and was driven around by a chauffeur. He was also doing drugs and drinking throughout the day. Leah Donaso, she was the lady that ran the back end of things. She wouldn't answer any questions about the topic. No comment, but, you know, she didn't have any trouble spoon-feeding lies to the people that are still waiting on their precious metals. He has now moved, Tyler's moved to the adult playground, Dubai, and he's nowhere to be found. As these people just are they're without their life savings. So ask yourself a question before you put all of your life savings into one asset class. I don't care what it is. Now, this brings me to a story that I've seen this happen a couple of times. I was working for a company, I think it was called SNC Lavalin, started off as Enron, and the project manager was embezzling millions of dollars. And it was very strange. We were walking around with nothing to do, no material, what's going on. They told us just to look busy for months. Well, that's what happened, and they hung him out to dry. He's probably still in prison, as far as I know. This happened again with a neighbor of mine when I lived in a subdivision. His wife got caught embezzling money from, I don't remember who it was from. But anyway, these people had plenty of money. And I want to say she embezzled $900,000 or maybe it was millions, I'm not sure. They locked her up, she's still in prison. They lost everything. When you embezzle rich people's money, you've got big, big trouble. And I don't know anybody that has gotten out of it. I had a family member embezzled money from a church of all places. She died in prison. The lady that I was just talking about that embezzled my neighbor, her husband killed herself in the sheriff's parking lot. It is not worth it. They lost everything, and I guess he just couldn't see the way out. So, better questions equal better decisions. Now, moving on, changing the subject. Worse than yesterday, the smoke that's coming over the nation's capital is choking people out and they're going to the hospital. The FFA reportedly this morning's first flight was disrupted at LaGuardia Airport due to wildfire smoke and reduced visibility. The air quality in the major metropolitan areas are at levels worse than in India. People with severe health issues such as asthma are going to the hospital. It's disrupting air travel and even postponing professional sporting events. So these wildfires are really creating a lot of smoke. The air quality, Air Now is reporting, shows that level of particulate matter in the air, smoke is extremely hazardous, and it's going to get better, they say. Much better air quality coming by this evening. So let me know how that works out. I know Chris from, oh man, I can't remember. It was Gelatin and Acres. I'm sorry, Chris. Ground Beef. That's the name of the channel. Check him out. He said the air, he lives in New York. He said the air smelled like Canadian maple bacon. Or Canadian, yeah, maple Canadian bacon, something like that. He said it really did. It's crazy. Now let's move on to some more people that made awful decisions. President Biden initially announced last June a bill called Energy Efficient Standards would be a money saver for consumers, and it also stated the rules would reduce greenhouse emissions. I believe neither is true. They're saying non-weatherized gas furnaces, which makes up 60% of furnaces that are currently used, that will no longer meet federal standards, is really harming the planet. And expert Daniel Turner said it has nothing to do with the environment. If you're wanting to keep your gas stove, you should check out Save Our Gas Act, the Gas Stove Protection Act, and the Freedom Act. Check those out, make some noise. It's ridiculous what we're trying to do. The wildfires that are going on that I just talked about, wildfires globally make up 1.76 billion tons of carbon, and the average family uses between 22 and 50 tons a year. So, we could talk about the Everglades and all the other things that emit stuff into the atmosphere, but just, it's crazy. Here's another climate story for you. German Nutrition Society, the acronym's DGE, as wild as that is, planning to recommend residents cut 90% of their daily meat intake to reduce and combat climate change. Germans consume an average of 76 grams, which is 1.68 pounds of meat a week. But they want you, the Germans, to reduce that to 70 grams a week. That's 2.5 ounces. That's about 2 good bites, maybe. A poll asked the viewers in Germany if they would comply to the new guidelines, and 79% said no. So just say no. Just say no to drugs and climate change and eating less meat. Okay, moving on to the commie state of California. Senate on Tuesday voted to pay $300 in weekly checks to unemployed illegals. The legislation would offer undocumented aliens 20 weeks of unemployment benefits. California employers are on the hook for the funds in the form of higher payroll taxes. They're already being hammered. You know, small businesses, restaurants are already being hammered by the communist state of California. I can't believe people still live there. If you can, I know a lot of people are trapped and they feel like they can't move, but if you can, please consider it. You know, the millionaires that are leaving that place is just unprecedented. And on the heels of what I just said, Governor Newsom said the undocumented immigrant influx could break California. I would say you've already done a pretty good job of that, Gourdhead Newsom. Now, the Democratic aligned lobbying groups are pushing its passage, are the usual suspects. Immigration, LGBT, environment organizations, as well as powerful labor unions. All of the enemies of the state. Moving on to Minnesota. Minnesota has approved legislation that would allow illegal immigrants to benefit from the state's education aid program, offering to make tuition 100% free. 100% free college tuition provided their family adjusted gross income is less than $80,000. The bill passed both the State House and Senate, with the Governor Tim Walz approving the program. All you got to do is graduate from high school and lived in the state for 1 year. The people, I'm going to read you this quote. They're infuriated while middle-class students who were born in the U.S., came here legally, have paid their own tuition. Illegal aliens in Minnesota get free tuition. Communism is not fair, everybody. Now, some more news out of California. Lawmakers in California are hoping to push through controversial legislation that would ban retail staff from stopping thieves stealing from their stores. Some stores' bosses are furious about the plans. California Retailers Association mocking the move as an open invitation to thieves. And that's exactly what it is. The proposed new law comes as stores have banned shoplifting for hitting their businesses, issuing a statement in November blaming organized retail crime to the tune of $400 million loss in its profits. Talk about bad decisions. The annual survey of retail industry loss prevention professionals found that retail shrink is almost a $100 billion problem. Retailers blamed external theft for the greatest portion of the shrink at 37%, while 28.5% was deemed as a result of employee internal theft. So they've got people that are working in the store stealing from them, and they've got people from external, people coming in the store stealing from them. This is going to result in less goods and services for all of us. Now in New York, this is unbelievable. The healthcare department unveiled a public health vending machine Monday, which aims to reduce drug overdose and spread of disease by distributing safe sex kits that include Narcan and drug paraphernalia. The machine will be used 24/7 at no cost to the people in Brooklyn near the housing facility in Brooklyn. It includes a pipe that can be used to smoke crack cocaine or meth, whichever you choose, with a mouthpiece and lip balm, as well as safer sniffing kits. The kits also include treatments for drug overdose. Guys, that's a lot of bad news, but it can all be fixed. You know, when the smoke clears, we'll be able to see, we can see already, and there's people waking up every day that are able to see the right solution. You can vote with your money. You can vote when you go to vote these people into office that have made better decisions. I'm not a real big fan of talking about any certain politician, you know, even Trump. I don't think he's the man on the white horse. But you know, we've fallen so far, and it's hard to think that we could come back. But I have faith we can. I can't help but be optimistic. I know that it's only about 9% of the population that make up the LGBTQ population, and I know probably a lot of them are good people. And once they see what's going on and see what comes of these bad decisions, I'm optimistic that we can start making the right decisions. So guys, have an awesome, awesome day. We'll see you in the next one. Later.